Hello, welcome back to Silverstone Shooting Centre. I'm John Thorne, and I've got an interesting story I think you might like. Now, I'm fortunate enough I go to America quite a lot in terms of business, looking at ranges and shooting. And a few years ago, I had some spare time in Vegas, like you do, and I decided to spend some money researching firearms. Now, in America, especially in Nevada, you can basically go along and shoot anything you like within reason. So I spent a good deal of money and I went to a range and I shot nearly every firearm I could think of, and certainly every firearm that they had. Everything from 50 caliber to mini guns to Tommy guns to Desert Eagle pistols, you name it. I was there nearly 5 hours and it cost me several $1,000s. But I shot pretty much nearly every gun available in some shape or form, and for the most part in semi and in full auto. Now, a couple of memories that I bring back from that particular day, other than the fact it was great fun, but also there are two things I learned. It was number one, firing anything in full auto is meaningless. Hollywood likes to make you think that the stars can shoot full auto and hit someone from 30 meters away. The short answer is you can't, okay? First round hits, the other two are probably miles away. In army terms or in military terms, it's suppressive fire. It's throwing rounds down there to hopefully keep the other guys' heads down. In terms of sporting purposes, it's a nice waste of ammo. A second thing I learned is that there were two particular guns I had the most fun shooting, and the only two I went back and got several more magazines for. One was the M4, an AR style rifle, which I just really enjoyed and was very accurate. And the second one was a Kriss Vector. Now, I mentioned accuracy, a bit meaningless. I'm shooting these guns, which are rifles at 25-meter targets. If you can't hit one of them, you need a guide dog. But those two guns I remember being great fun. And the only ones I actually got more magazines for. Now, the Kriss Vector, which I shot in 45 ACP form, I enjoyed it for two reasons. First of all, it just felt nice. The whole rifle felt comfortable on my shoulders. The second thing was that its cyclic rate, which is how fast it can fire around in full auto, was just addictive. It rattled rounds down there like a lunatic, and it was great fun. But I remember the whole concept being a different style of rifle. After I shot it, I looked at the research and how the cycle and the action works. It's designed to minimize recoil, which is probably why I liked it. And also it was designed and made by a left-handed shooter designer. So no wonder I liked it. Anyway, fast forward, we're not allowed 45 ACP semi-auto of any kind in the UK. And so it's a gun, not a gun that we're going to shoot here. But fast forward to now, so nearly 5 years later, and Kriss have done it. They have brought out a Kriss Vector in 22 caliber semi-automatic form, which is all we can shoot here in the UK. Now, before you say it's not the same thing as a Kriss, you're right, it's not, okay? It doesn't have the same action that it has in the center, which is how the centerfire version works. It has a straight blowback action, as you'd normally expect from a 2.2 semi-auto. But other than that, it's exactly the same. Now, I got a chance to talk to designers in SHOT Show, and I was suitably impressed to say, well, look, put me in contact with the UK distributor, which happens to be Shield, who I know but never really dealt with before. We bought some Smiths off them years ago. And I said, look, as soon as they come in the UK, can I have a quick look? Because I think this might be a bit of a game changer for mini rifle, especially for left-handed shooters. Now, so I've got one now, today. And as you can probably see, it looks a bit different to the ones that are on the press releases and all the things you probably saw at the British Shooting Show last week. The reason why is, first of all, I took this thing off, okay? This is the remarkably unpleasant looking handguard they put on the end of it. No idea why they do that, I really don't, because Kriss also make another handguard, which is much, much nicer. And also, they also make a barrel shroud. So this, in its 16.5 inch barrel form, which is what we get here, you can have a barrel shroud, and it makes it look much nicer. Secondly, it doesn't do anything. The idea that the Kriss is you shoot with one hand on the foregrip, other hand on the trigger. So as you can see from a left-handed shooter perspective, what you have is, there's the action release, and there's a mag release. Literally, it's like a trumpet. Not that I play a trumpet, but the concept's similar. I can shoot that gun with all my hands, my right hand, on all the tools I need to shoot, other than also the hand on the trigger finger and the safety. You also know I fitted my normal optics, which is a Aimpoint Micro H2 Red Dot with an Aimpoint 3x magnifier. I'm also going to try shooting it with a Hawk scope as well. And thus far, I've put 1,000 rounds through it so far this morning, which is not easy. Bear in mind, they're all 10 round magazines at the moment, and I've got no speed loader. So now my thumbs hurt, so I'm giving up for the day. And you know what? It's probably the most fun shooting I've done with a mini rifle since I first started. It was just lovely, great fun. Now it's interesting as that a lot of the reviews so far said it's a bit of a toy gun and not really useful for any sporting purposes. And I've got to say, if you're right-handed, I can see that view being made, because obviously right-handed means here it's your thumb doing all the work, which is great for the action, probably not so good for the mag release. But generally speaking, it's still pretty good. I shot it both left and right-handed. But for a left-handed shooter, it really is nice. Now, a couple of big issues that are going to affect it for mini rifle. First of all, 10 round mag ain't going to cut it. It really isn't. The good thing about a 10 round mag was as it fits flush, this is empty, I can actually bench rest it and actually shoot it off the bench without causing an issue in terms of mag. You try and bench shoot a mag rest AR style rifle, be it Kriss, Smith, or everywhere, they'll jam because they force the magazine forward. But because the magazine fits flush, I can actually shoot it off the bench as if it was on a bipod, which is great. The downside is 10 rounds won't get anywhere in mini rifle. It's a shortcut. So you need the 30 round magazine, which is coming, I'm told. But really, that's crucial. The second aspect of it is that, generally speaking, its construction, I was really impressed with. It's solid. This is the actual gun that they used at the British Shooting Show last week. It had, I believe, 9,000 rounds through it. I've put another 1,000 rounds through it, and the thing is solid. Oops. The thing is solid. It really is. And I'm really quite impressed. Now, other little things. The stock's a bit flippy. They always are. But I'll put a Hogue on that anyway. But it's actually a very nice stock. Funnily enough, it's actually the same one on Defiance. I know, because it says Defiance on the side. So they have obviously used what they have. But it has a standard mil-spec tube, which means I can put anything I want on there. Gripper is obviously fixed, but I'm actually going to Eworth soon, and I'm going to go and see Hogue and see if they'll make me an overgrip for it, because they do the same thing for pistol grips as well. But overall, I'm quite excited. This actually could be quite a bit of a game changer for practical shooting to some extent. Now, the difference is, other than the fact we need a 30 round magazine, which is desperate, is that I've got to completely relearn how I maneuver a mini rifle round, because literally everything is done the way around. It is your forehand that does everything. So in other words, for reloading, you're going to have to drop the mag and use your trigger finger and your trigger hand, your primary hand, okay, to reload. The good news about that is it means if you use your hand here, and it's quite a light gun, I can hold it in my shoulder. So I can sit there, keep my sight picture, and reload my magazines. Again, with an AR, that's tough because you're holding the whole thing and then the other hand goes down. Whilst it's doable, it's harder with having your primary hand holding the gun whilst you're obviously trying to hold it up, put a magazine there. This way around, your secondary, which obviously pulls the gun into your shoulder, I've got a nice solid platform so I can keep my sight picture and put my magazine in. So that alone is worth looking at. Certainly, from a perspective of aesthetics, it's a bit challenged without the forend or without the shroud, and also the 10 round magazine only makes it very, very complicated in terms of using mini rifle at the moment. So I'm going to push pretty hard for those released fairly soon. But thus far, in terms of shooting, it's very good. Really, I'm quite impressed. Accuracy. You know what, thus far I've shot it at 10, 50 and 100 meters, both with a red dot magnified and with a scope, with a Hawk scope. And it is, as far as I can see, you know, after 1,000 rounds, not easy to tell. It is no different to a Smith, no different to a Kriss, no different to any other ones. They are all pretty much sub 1 inch groups, 100 meters taking your time. Now, mini rifle is slightly different, but in terms of, you know, speed being an issue, but in terms of accuracy, it's more than enough, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'll do more on that and other things we can do with it, but as a first shoot, I'm very impressed. Now, I'm going to finish this video now because I'm straight on the phone now to Shield to make sure they get these shrouds and those 30 round mags in. But there's every possibility that I will start to shoot this gun in mini rifle, which I'll probably split between that and the Kriss Defiance I'm trying as well. But this at the moment is something that is quite exciting, and it is certainly a much more than just a plinking tool. This could well be something that will make a big difference to especially left-handed shooters, but also I think right-handed shooters too. Anyway, thought you'd like to see it. Quite interesting to see it. I'll keep you posted what happens. Hopefully Kriss can get some bits out for us, and we can develop as we go from there. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about what we're doing with Kriss and everything else going, just hit subscribe with the button at the bottom somewhere, and then hope to see you soon. All right, cheers.